Will All In sell out? What were the top 5 moments of the week? Who will make an appearance at All In? All this and more next on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. And welcome to the show. This is your host, Robert Red.
And I'm Chris Heineken. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hey, if you like this podcast, why don't you subscribe to us for free by searching the Power of Pro Wrestling on iTunes, the iOS podcast app, or Play Music. You can also check us out online on Shout Engine and Stitcher. Also, share this podcast with your friends and family on social media and spread the word that you are part of the Power of Pro Wrestling family.
Yes. So happy Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, Cornbread. So how you doing?
Oh, I'm excellent. 316-18. Well,
oh, that's
I'm
a
not
mouthful.
Yeah, that's too much of a combination numbers in this case.
Yeah, 316-18. Yeah, quite the combination. We've got a very exciting show for you guys today. You want to kind of tell them about what we're going to be discussing?
Oh, yeah, we got some All In.
Yeah, we're all in for this podcast.
Yeah, and that's All In on 2 different segments, along with Top 5. But I want to get to an announcement very quickly that always really posted earlier during the time of this podcast, and that's the fact that there have been huge debates on Ring of Honor returning to Baltimore, Maryland. We all thought it was going to be for television taping. Not the case this time. This time, they're returning to Baltimore for pay-per-view. I'm thinking Drew Burns Arena, which is where they started when they got Sinclair. I'm thinking the Myers Pavilion, which we all saw that great classic with Lethal and Strong for the world title. But this one is a little bit bigger and better. The UMBC Event Center in Baltimore, Maryland. And away from this podcast, I might say off the air, I showed you a little bit of what this building looks like. And let's just say it's almost like the perfect setting for a pro wrestling venue. And I'm going to tell you what, just on one side of the wall, this is a new building. One side of the wall, almost as it could be his own entrance by itself. Everything else is surrounding it. And the capacity of this sucker, over 6,000.
Yeah, that's pretty
This is
awesome.
the best in the world pay-per-view. And I know we're about to go all in.
Yeah, we're going to go all in.
But really, what do you think about this move for Ring of Honor going from Drew Burns for 3 years to the Myers Pavilion for probably 2 or 3 more years? Now, you really elevating your game this time. You're not in Lowell, Massachusetts anymore, and you're not in Concord, North Carolina. Now you're in a bigger venue on a college campus. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bigger building and it's a step in the right direction for Ring of Honor. It's their growth and expansion that they just need to keep on doing. I mean, they need to keep getting in these bigger buildings and keep drawing people and keep expanding and growing, and eventually, who knows what could happen for Ring of Honor. They could be that that second tier air challenger to WWE. So, I mean, it's a really good move for them to go into a bigger building, especially best in the world, something that's of this caliber.
Absolutely.
You definitely need a bigger building. So,
and how about this? The building is bigger than the one they're going to be in for Supercard.
Yeah.
And this is a new venue. Not only a new venue, but this is a new building, a new college building. That's really a basketball stadium. Like for the indies and the independents. But now it's going to hold professional wrestling.
Yeah.
This is a big jump.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, it's not uncommon to see pro wrestling in arenas like that are like basketball courts or stuff like that.
Of course. I mean, it has the altitude error.
Yeah.
But along those lines, all I can say is we just hope you really, really, really get yourself geared into this podcast here, because it would be great. No question about it. It's an all-in podcast, and we're going to be discussing it.
Yeah.
Let's give us some, or
yeah, I'm going to kind of give some background. So this basically, our debate topic is going to be about All In and if it can sell 10,000 seats or not. So this really stems from a question from presented to Dave Meltzer, which hopefully you're familiar with Dave Meltzer if you're listening to my podcast. But if you're not, Dave Meltzer kind of works for what publication that he does, Mr. Cornbread?
Well, he used to work around PWI, but
yeah,
not so much anymore. He's really been, the only reason he's really been front and center is because of one man, and that's Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret the Hitman Hart put this guy on the map, along with Vince McMahon, put this guy on the map in the early 90s, and he became prominent. And that's why he's the quote-unquote center of any and everything.
Yeah, and he's known for star ratings. Well, to get kind of back to the point or the discussion topic, he was asked a question, I believe this happened on Twitter, and he was asked if Ring of Honor could ever sell out a 10,000-seat venue. Well, he said not anytime soon. Well, Cody, I guess, kind of took offense to that, and that's Cody, the American Nightmare, kind of took offense to that, and he kind of was like, challenge accepted. So him, along with the Young Bucks and I think other people, are doing
multiple variations of Bullet Club, along with Kenny Omega.
Yeah, they're self-financing a show, and they have named it All In. That's why we keep using this whole expression throughout this podcast of All In.
And All In is a poker term, just so you know.
Yeah. So, they're doing the self-financing the show. That's called All In, and it's they've already set a date and a venue. It's supposed to be September 1st of 2017 or 2018. I'm getting my years wrong, and it's supposed to be in Chicago or the Chicago area, I should say, suburban area.
The suburban area of Chicago, Sears Center. And if you're very familiar with the Sears Center, that's where the infamous Bound for Glory took place, where Joe lost the title to Sting.
Okay, the good fun factoid. But that's going to be our debate topic is if All In will sell 10,000 seats or not. Now, the venue that they've got, according to the numbers I think I've seen, will hold around 11,000.
11,800.
So they do have a building that will seat the 10,000 seat capacity.
Right.
Because you got to allow for, if you're going to have an entrance and sets and stuff like that, you're going to take away some of your seats. So it would be probably about the 10,000 seats that they were kind of challenged to. So the debate topic that we're going to be having for today's show or today's episode is, will it sell the 10,000 seats? The number is the important. If it exceeds that, that's fine. If it falls short, then they're not really meeting the goal. So
touch 10,000.
Yeah. So you and me are going to be debating if it will sell out or not. So you'll have 2 minutes to present your side of the debate. I'll have 2 minutes to present my side of the debate.
And you, the audience, are going to decide whether you're all in or all out.
Yeah. At the end of this episode, you'll be able to go on Twitter, and we'll give you the address before the end of the episode where you can go and leave your opinion if Cornbread won the debate or if I won. So kick us off, Cornbread. 2 minutes. Present your side of the argument.
Will All In sell out? To answer the question, yes. Between now, which is March, and September, you have a whole lot of time. And the reason why you have a whole lot of time is, I don't say just do this because of the personal vendetta or lack thereof with Dave Meltzer and everybody saying that, you can't do it, you can't do it. They got the talent to do it. They have a massively amount of talent that could go with this All In show. And up until ticket sales, you have way more than enough time to prepare. WWE only sells out pay-per-views. Only. Monday Night Raws have really not sold out, with the exception of the 25th anniversary, which was 15,000 plus, Brooklyn, and possible nights after WrestleMania. Those will literally be the only times that you will actually sell out a weekly program. For Cody to pull this off, yeah, it's doable. If this was Madison Square Garden, I would absolutely say no. I'll say no, come back to me in 2 years. If this was MSG, because that's the tough building that you want. But in this case, I say just because it's a Sears Center outside Chicago and it's suburban, with the talent you have, with Kenny Omega, possibility you may get Sonata. You already got members of the elite side of Bullet Club, and probably get more independent talent or more celebrities along with Stephen Amell. You could do it. It's easy to pull. It could do it. It can go for it. I'll say it depends on when the ticket sales hold. We'll have that number. But I say yes.
Okay, some great points, Cornbread, but I totally disagree. No, they will not sell 10,000 seats. And no, I'm not hating on you, Cody. If you happen to listen to this podcast, I don't know why you would, but I'm not hating on you. I just don't think you're going to be able to do it. I'm going to present some facts and figures because I know you're the statistician, but I had to do my homework on this one. So I'm going to go to Ring of Honor's biggest show, or most tickets that they've sold, was at Supercard last year that took place April 1st, 2017 at Lakeland Center in Lakeland, Florida. They only sold 3,500 tickets, 3,600. I know the number's kind of skewed, but that's still below 10,000. The seating capacity of the building was about 8,178 from what I looked up on Wikipedia from what I saw from the Lakeland Center. Not the building they're going to be in for All In. The Sears Center obviously is going to have enough. Now, the why I said they're not going to sell 10,000 seats, if they only sold 3,500 with the card that had the Villain, which was one of the hottest acts at the time against Adam Cole, which is a hot act. You had Lethal and Cody, hot act. Danielson Castle for the world title. And the Bucks versus the Hardys, which are the hottest act in all of wrestling at the time. That was the main event. If you only sold 3,500 tickets off of that, I don't see you selling 10,000 and at your All In event. Now, you do have celebrities and stuff like that, but until they announce a name like The Rock or someone that's really going to push it, or CM Punk, like some name that's really going to drive people to the show, I don't see them doing it. Two, another reason why I don't think they're going to be able to do it, like you mentioned, WWE is having trouble selling 10,000 seat arenas out and stuff like that. So if WWE, the leader in wrestling, is having trouble, then I don't think Cody's All-In show is going to be able to sell the 10,000 seats.
Well, let's really put this into perspective here. It's not Ring of Honor that's promoting this. Let's put this into perspective. It's not ROH that's promoting this. It's not New Japan that's promoting this. Those are the two companies that he's affiliated with, along with Impact Wrestling. They're not the ones promoting this. Cody is. Let's put that into perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But, I mean, they're going to need someone behind them to have access to their talent, or they are not going to get anywhere with that. Now, I'm not hating on Stephen Amell and Arrow. I mean, you have the Arrowverse, and that's DC and stuff like that. He is a TV star. But to me, and that's why I brought up the point, you're going to have The Rock. You're going to have a big, big name that's going to drive people to Sears Center to get the 10,000 seats. Because, I mean, like I said, at Ring of Honor Supercard, if you have the Villain, a hot act, and the Hardys, the hottest act of all of wrestling, and you're only selling 3,500 seats, there's no way you're going to hit your goal of 10,000. And with Cody, what Meltzer said, he said not anytime soon were you going to do that. So, I mean, maybe in the next couple of years, if you keep presenting like the Omega and Cody match, it's supposed to be happening at Supercard this year. And who knows, that might sell even more than the 3,500 seats. Maybe if they keep going and presenting better and bigger matches that are wanting to draw people more, maybe they can reach that 10,000 seats. Just at this point, I don't think they are going to be able to do it.
Well, the only way to find out is when ticket sales become available. And when the number hits, then we'll have our answer. But only you, the audience, have the power of attorney of your own. Either he won or I won. You pick it. Yeah. It's on you.
Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for the debate. Like you said, tell us who won it on Twitter at PPWP Podcast. But don't you go anywhere. Our top 5 moments are coming up next. Attention, all Power of Pro Wrestling listeners. You now can show support for your favorite podcast by donating today on our Patreon page. By donating, you can get early access to our YouTube exclusives and the podcast before the public, along with other great content. You can donate today via debit or credit card or via PayPal. Go and check it out today at patreon.com/PPWP. Hello, everyone. This is Robert Red,
I'm Chris Hannigan.
and our show can be heard on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand.
Download the free app today.
You can listen anytime and anywhere.
Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favorite shows, plus discover from 20,000 news, entertainment, and sports shows.
You can even create custom playlists.
Over 20,000 shows to discover.
You can rate and review the show on Stitcher.
Also available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
And along with that is in 4 million car dashboards.
And it's on demand and on the go.
No downloading, no syncing, and no wasted memory.
Stream your favorite podcasts.
Well, if you don't have Stitcher, you can download it free today at Stitcher.com or in your app store.
This is The Godfather, and you're listening to The Power of Pro Wrestling. Oh, yeah, podcast.
Welcome back to the show. Brace yourselves. It's now time for our top 5. With all the exciting action happening this week, we'll be counting down our favorite moments from 5 to 1, starting with number 5. Okay, Cornbread, what's your number 5 moment for the week?
I'm going to Ring of Honor on this one. And it's not Shane Taylor and Flip Gordon in my number 5. It will be FKA Emma, now known as Tenille Dashwood, versus Stacy Shadows. This was very competitive. And the reason why this ended up in my list, not because of the fact that it's Tenille's return to national television, but it's also her debut on broadcast television as well. This is a big deal. And Stacy Shadows, say what you want about her size, but hey, she's very, very impressive. But the fact that Tenille Dashwood gets to showcase a lot more of her skills than she ever did in WWE, whether it's NXT or whether it's the main roster. We saw a lot. Now we see a lot more of Tenille Dashwood inside the ring, and a lot more of what she can do and what she can handle. And to me, this was a very competitive match. I loved it. Ended up being in my top 5. I gave it an excellent rating. So that's my number 5. What's yours?
Okay. That was a good number 5 moment. I was happy to see Tenille back on television to see what she can do. And I'm especially excited that she is back with Ring of Honor and this whole Women of Honor thing, because I feel she is a great fit for that.
Or just back on television, period.
Because, I mean, she helped to kind of start that women's revolution in WWE. Her and Paige kind of started it. And I've talked about this before. And Charlotte and Natty took it to the next level. And then you had Sasha and Bayley kept going. So, I mean, I'm glad that she is getting kind of on the ground floor, or where it's starting to bubble up to where it's going to be a huge success. So I'm glad that she's back on. But to get to my number 5, you're not going to get a lot of explication from me like you have in the past couple of weeks, because I don't have really a lot to say from my top 5 moments. But my number 5, I'm going to go to Impact Wrestling, and it's the Feast or Fire match. There's not really anything that stood out this week to me for Impact Wrestling, but I just had to put Feast or Fire on there just from the implications of it's their version of the Money in the Bank. If you don't watch Impact Wrestling, check it out. For Feast or Fire, you have it's the Money in the Bank concept taken to the next level. Instead of just giving one title shot, you have an option at 4 briefcases. 3 of them have title shots. One's in X Division, one's tag, and one's for the main championship. The other one, this is where it's the interesting turn, is a pink slip, and you're fired. And it's legit. You are fired from the company if you lose the match. So, I mean, and it was a good match. It was interesting to see who all got the briefcases, because I believe you had kind of...
I have the list here.
Yeah, who all got cases. I remember EC3 got a case, which obviously if you watched NXT, you know he got the fired case.
Yeah, case 1 is Eli Drake.
Okay, Drake got 1.
Petey Williams, case number 2. EC3, case number 3. Moose, case number 4.
So, I mean, and it's going to be interesting. They didn't have the reveal this week, which I wish they would have bumped up.
Right.
The match, and then at the end did the case reveal. I think it would have made the episode more interesting if you did that instead of teasing us till next week, which that's okay, because that's done in TV. That's called a cliffhanger. That's fine. I just wish they would have done it to where you had the match earlier in the night, and then you had the reveal at the end. I think it would have bolstered the episode a little bit more if they did that.
But here's something I want to bring out an X factor in this match, other than the EC3 thing and everything else. How about the Global Forge winner Hakeem Zayn was not a member of Desi Hit Squad? What an incredible showing he had in that match. He stole a little bit of the show.
He did okay. I mean, there wasn't really anything in that match that stood out to me, but just from
he
the
really
significance.
shined.
Yeah, I mean, it's just from the significance of the match and stuff is why I had to put it as my number 5 moment for the week. So that's my number 5 is Feast or Fired.
Number 4.
Okay, Cornbread, number 4.
I'm sticking with Ring of Honor on this one. It's going to be Shane Taylor, Flip Gordon. Some people would classify it as big guy versus little guy. I classify it as kicks versus fist. Literally, that's how I classified this match. Kicks of Flip Gordon versus the fist of Shane Taylor. As everyone pretty much knows, Shane Taylor's originally was the hired gun for Cody when Cody was the world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's no longer the world champion. He's an island unto himself. And we all know the fact that he has a legitimate gripe against the villain Marty Scurll for what he did to him in Nashville. Now with Flip Gordon. But here's the interesting thing that really kind of got my attention. The Young Bucks, who are associated with a 3-section of the Bullet Club, came to the aid of Flip Gordon?
Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting, yeah. You look almost confused there, Cornbread.
Well, I'm not going to give it away courtesy of what happens on Honor Rising, which you'll be seeing on Ring of Honor television. I'm not going to give it away. But this has a whole lot of question marks behind it, especially with the Humbucks issue with now the new 6-man champions, SoCal Uncensored. That's another question in itself.
Yeah, most definitely.
But that's my number 4. You got one.
Oh, well, I feel kind of awkward now, Cornbread. My number 4 is the exact same match as Flip Gordon versus Shane Taylor from Ring of Honor.
But why did you choose this one, number 4?
Well, I mean, going back and thinking now on Ring of Honor, the Stacey Shadows to Neil Dashwood match was a good match. I like this because it's kind of, you had the opening with the Battle Royal, and then it goes to the match of
take the 2 Battle Royal winners and put them inside with the winner getting a shot at the television title.
Yeah, most definitely. But I picked this match just because it had the more exciting factor to it from what you mentioned, the Flip Gordon and then the whole Shane Taylor dynamic. Not a bad match. And like I said, I'm not going to explicate too much, and you've kind of gone more into the match. But like you mentioned, at the end of the match, just really cemented why I wanted this at number 4 of the Young Bucks coming out and helping Flip Gordon. And I felt that was a very interesting notion. Now, this goes back to, if you watch Being the Elite.
Yes.
In a storyline progression, if you don't watch anything outside of Ring of Honor, it is kind of weird that they would come out to the aid of Flip Gordon. But if you watch Being the Elite, you kind of understand where they're coming from.
And if you went back on, and if you go back on NJPWWorld.com and watch Honor Rising, that's where all of this stems from. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil it because you're going to see it on Ring of Honor television.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just that that dynamic really helped to, and this is why I put it at number 4 over Feast or Fired, was that dynamic of you had Scorpio Sky coming out and attacking, and then
Absolutely.
the Bucks making the save. Even just that interesting dynamic, it made it a little more exciting, and Flip getting the win. Just that's why I had to put it as my number 4 moment of the week, was for those factors of the well, and that's why it ranked over Feast or Fired.
Number 3.
Okay, Cornbread, what's your number 3 moment of the week?
I'm going to Impact Wrestling on this one, and it's not Feast or Fired.
Wow.
This was the match I told you off the air that I was looking forward to, and that's Taya versus Rosemary.
Okay.
If you followed the story from last year, the match should have happened at Bound for Glory, but because of issues, the match did not happen. That's why we saw the quote-unquote reuniting with Decay at the pay-per-view, only to have it backfire. This, to me, is a pay-per-view quality match. This was a match worthy of pay-per-view because you have the power of the Lucha royalty, Taya Valkyrie. Not to be confused with Taya from Lucha Underground. 2 different characters, 2 different beings.
Same person, 2 different characters.
Right. But the fact that you have a Rosemary character in this and they both are bloodthirsty. Both of them. They delivered in this match. Even though the match ended via double countout, the whole match was physical from start to finish. Even for the fact that Rosemary ended up popping a German suplex on Taya, who's the power person. Taya's the powerful one. Rosemary, not so much. She's much more of that squeaky grease against the wheel type of individual. But I've enjoyed that match. To me, it should have been on pay-per-view. I hope Impact Wrestling gets this right. I hope this match happens at Redemption or April 22nd live on pay-per-view. This needs to be on pay-per-view. That's my number 3. What's yours?
Well, I do agree with you with the finish that they did on that match, with it being a double count out. I think that's where they're going to go with Redemption.
Because it's a personal rivalry.
Yeah, personal rivalry. Well, my number 3 is actually going to come from Monday Night Raw, and it was kind of hard to pick my top 3 and what exact moments that I wanted to put. I was going to put my number 1 moment at number 3, but just because it's so good, I had to put it at number 1, which we'll get to in a minute. Now, normally, if you listen to this podcast, I say I favor matches over promos, but there was a promo that overshadowed the match, so the match got bumped down. So my number 3 is going to be the tag team battle royal from Monday Night Raw that main evented or closed the show. Oh, the reason I love this, although it kind of seemed that you buried the tag teams aims by doing this, it was just a great segment and moment, because this really stems from Sheamus and Cesaro. They've been beating teams the past several weeks, and they're like, oh, we want challengers to step up. Well, they'd have one team, and then another team, and then another team, and another team earlier on Raw. Just they kept coming in, brawling and stuff like that. So you really didn't get to pick a winner. Well, Kurt Angle basically said, okay, we're going to have a tag team battle royal, and you're not going to fight all the teams, but you're going to fight the winner of the battle royal. Well, they have everything set up, and then all of a sudden, Braun! The music hits, and he comes out, and bada bing, bada boom, Braun's trying to enter himself in the battle royal, yet he doesn't have a partner. Well, he kind of is scary, and the ref's kind of scared, so he just kind of rings the bell. You kind of have the melee in the match, and it ends with Braun Strowman throwing out Carl Anderson. But before that, he says, I'm going to WrestleMania, and then he throws him out. So it's a very good match. I enjoyed it. Very strong segment in Raw, and a good way to close out Raw, but it wasn't as strong as some of the other segments in Raw. Also, it is going to rank number 3 on my list for this week.
Number 2.
Okay, Cornbread, we're going to start wrapping this up. Number 2 for you.
Number 2, I'm tied with Tag Team Battle Royal winner courtesy of Braun Strowman, and Rollins versus Balor, based off what happened on Miss TV. Rollins Balor was an excellent match. Some people say, hey, we've seen it a dozen times. And yeah, you're absolutely right. But just for the added momentum of WrestleMania and the importance of WrestleMania as far as the Intercontinental Championship is concerned, yes, even though Balor won that match, bottom line, I think either of these two could become the new Intercontinental Champion. Tag Team Battle Royal, which would be the other half of my tie for number 2, was the fact that it was a whole lot of question marks on this, because I felt, and this is my opinion, but I felt that Braun kind of took the worst of a situation and made the best of it, in my opinion, because Raw's been known, especially in that third hour, Raw's been known to throw a whole lot of goofy stuff together and it not make sense, and then drop another 400, 500,000 viewers. This case, I gave you this number Wednesday.
Yeah, you're big on the ratings and the numbers. So.
Well, in this case, this one's Nielsen. This straight Nielsen source. That third hour normally would drop 700,000. Did you realize that it only dropped 200,000?
Yeah, from the second hour to the third hour. Yeah, it was only about 100,000 between the first and the third hour. So very good numbers.
And the crazy thing is, it jumped the second hour. Even though it failed the third hour, it jumped the second hour. But you stay right inside of where you need to be. But the reason why this is again tied was the fact that a question mark Braun Strowman. Question mark. Braun Strowman going for the tag team titles. He just wants to get to WrestleMania. no matter how he gets there. And I think he's already secured that spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope they do pair him with Elias. I hope they don't allow him to be a solo star. I mean, a solo guy going into a tag match, that would be cool to get him over. But I would love just to see him and Elias like an odd couple pairing win the tag team titles, because I think that would be interesting and entertaining between the two being tag team champions. So I would love to see that.
What's your number 2?
Okay, well, to shift gears and go to my number 2, it's actually going to go to SmackDown Live. It was very hard to pick my moments this week just because if I could, I would write number 1, like maybe Raw or SmackDown Live. Number 2, Raw or SmackDown Live. And that's how I'd be. I'd be like almost the whole show. You had a lot of great stuff to pick from. So it was very hard for me to pick. You had the AJ Nakamura thing, and then you had the pretty good match between him and Rusev. So you had that. But my number 2 is actually going to be the close of the show and the Shane McMahon announcement of announcing Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were going to be fighting at WrestleMania, and then the ensuing beatdown that Kevin and Sami gave to him post the announcement. Yeah, that was just a very well done segment. I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. Now, like I said, normally I don't do segments and promos over matches, but it was just so good that I had to put it at number 2. Very entertaining. And I mean, Shane McMahon getting beat down. And what was actually I loved was when they dragged him backstage, and then like Kevin Owens gave him that power bomb on like that metal old stuff, whatever it was. And then just the way Shane sold it was very disturbing how he was selling it. He was selling it like he legitimately was hurt. So I enjoyed that moment, and that's why it ranked so high on my list at number 2. Was just the fact of how entertaining it was, and just his selling. Just the overall segment was good and interesting to watch. That was my number 2 moment of the week.
Number 1.
Okay, Cornbread, drum roll. What's your number 1 moment of the week? What's your favorite moment that happened this week in wrestling?
I would normally have Impact or Ring of Honor in this list because of the importance of Supercard and the importance of Impact still leading towards redemption and using WrestleMania weekend towards leading them up to redemption on April 22nd on pay-per-view. My number 1 is actually going to come from Monday Night Raw.
Ooh, you got on the WWE.
But it's not a match. This one, to me, has way more importance than anything. And it involves one of the guys that actually brings money into the company. And it's John Cena. John Cena making the challenge to The Undertaker. I've said before, and I have a whole lot of veterans backing me on the following statement that I'm going to make, and it's this. You hung up your career when you took your boots off and lay them in the ring and walk away. It did not happen at the WrestleMania in Florida.
Which would be WrestleMania 33 in Orlando.
Absolutely. Which means, and plus, with Undertaker coming back.
Yeah, at Raw's 25th anniversary, yeah.
Absolutely. But here's what really sparked the interest of Taker Cena. You remember last year when The Miz and John Cena had their rivalry, and Cena literally flat out said, hey, if I was this quote-unquote political guy like you say I am, you think I'll be having a match with you at WrestleMania? Heck no. I will be fighting The Undertaker. Guess what happens?
Yeah, just a year later, he's making the challenge. And
to me, if you really want to sell WrestleMania in its fullest, I love Styles Nakamura rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 10. Intercontinental Championship match will deliver. But if you're truly going to sell out the entire New Orleans Superdome, you will be an idiot not to sign this big money match. Taker Cena.
Yeah, definitely. We got to go all in. You need to go all in if you want to sell some seats. So, you want to know my number 1? You're curious, Cornbread, to hear what I put as number 1?
Come on, it has to be a draw. Seriously. And I think maybe this number one that you have could be another selling factor. Sell me.
Okay, well, my number one is from Monday Night Raw, and it is the John Cena promo that you just mentioned. Now, like I said, normally I favor matches over promos, but I had to make an exception this week.
Why?
The strength of the promo. It was just a strong, entertaining promo, and it got me excited. You had John Cena coming out talking about how he tried at Rumble, was his ticket to WrestleMania. He failed there. Tried at the Chamber, failed there. Tried at Fastlane, failed there. He's like, okay, then I'm probably just going to be a fan. And then it's like he almost took a 180 turn, like a shift in tone of the promo.
Absolutely.
Oh, and was like, okay, I'm already going to be a fan, so why don't I do something drastic? I challenge The Undertaker for a match at WrestleMania. And then he says it a couple times. And then the crowd involvement was like, yes, yes. And like, this is awesome. Like, and just, it was a very entertaining, interesting promo. And it was to get in, it really got you excited about the potential of WrestleMania. And WWE a lot of times has been lacking that, getting you excited about the biggest show of the year.
Pay-per-views. They've lacked that on a whole lot of pay-per-views.
Yeah, I mean, it's to get me excited about WrestleMania. Like, I want, going in the WrestleMania season, I want to feel about WrestleMania what a die-hard football NFL fanatic feels about the Super Bowl.
And what teams feel about, Stanley Cup and the World Series in baseball, especially with the Cubs in 2016.
So, I felt with the John Cena promo and The Undertaker that started to really get me excited. Like me being a Marvel fan, and like for today's episode, I'm wearing the Daredevil shirt. How Infinity War and all the trailers are wanting me to see the Infinity War movie. This promo makes me want to watch WrestleMania. I watch it all the time. I watch it every year because I'm a mark. So what? Not a bad term, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I'm a fan, but
I'm a fan, but this really makes me want to watch WrestleMania to see this match. And I mean, what's great about this match, as long as Taker and Cena have been with the company, you've not seen them cross paths very often. John Cena in his early career, he got to face The Undertaker.
But
their legends have grown since then to where you have an icon and an icon are going to clash on the biggest stage of the year. So to me, that's a WrestleMania-worthy caliber match, and that gets me excited for WrestleMania. So that's why I had to put this as my number one moment for the week.
Well, let me ask this question. If WWE announces this for Mania and it becomes official, Cena Taker, you think finally we'll have a WrestleMania sellout to the point where there are no tickets available?
Well, yeah, I think this will be a match that sells Mania. I mean, Mania sells itself, but this is only going to help further sell Mania.
You're not going to get this come on now. You're not going to get this anywhere else. You're not going to get this on a B-level pay-per-view. You're not going to get this on all the other pay-per-views. Come on. This is a WrestleMania-worthy match.
Yeah.
Let's really put this into perspective. Two legit guys that have literally brought WWE the most money. Most money. Regardless of how you feel about them. Cena's brought in the money. Undertaker's brought in the money. Undertaker's one of the selling points of WrestleMania. So is John Cena. How can you not have these two collide, even if it's just for a one-time only?
Yeah, and especially if this is going to be Undertaker's true last match, this is the guy who needs to go out with.
And it's at the Superdome of all places. The Superdome in New Orleans of all places.
Yeah, I mean, AT&T Stadium or like even a bigger building, I would love that. That way it would make it even that greater pandemonium. I would love that.
I would too.
Yeah, but that's all the time we have for this segment. It's time for our final commercial break, but stay tuned. Rapid Fire is coming up next.
Attention all Power of Pro Wrestling listeners. You now can show support for your favorite podcast by donating today on our Patreon page. By donating, you can get early access to our YouTube exclusives and the podcast before the public, along with other great content. You can donate today via debit or credit card or via PayPal. Go and check it out today at patreon.com/PPWP.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Red,
I'm Chris Hannigan.
and our show can be heard on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand.
Download the free app today.
You can listen anytime and anywhere.
Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favorite shows, plus discover from 2 to 20,000 news, entertainment, and sports shows.
You can even create custom playlists.
Over 20,000 shows to discover.
You can rate and review the show on Stitcher.
Also available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
And along with that is in 4 million car dashboards.
And it's on demand and on the go.
No downloading, no syncing, and no wasted memory.
Stream your favorite podcasts.
Well, if you don't have Stitcher, you can download it free today at Stitcher.com or in your app store.
This is Jake Neal, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to the show. It's now time for the fastest segment of the show, Rapid Fire. For this edition of Rapid Fire, we will be giving our predictions on who will appear at All In. So let's start with, let's get interesting. Let's start with the Lionheart, the best in the world at what he does, Chris Jericho.
To promote his Jericho Cruise, I say yes on this one. You can put him inside. I say if you work it properly, it will work for him. Just for the fact that Chicago is one of his favorite cities, and like I said, it's 1 month before the Jericho Cruise, the Rocket Wrestling Rager at Sea Cruise. Excellent way to promote, but also, what better way to do it than All In? So I say yes.
Yeah. And I mean, that's for that very reason why I could see Chris Jericho possibly appearing at All In, just for the simple fact that you have the Rocking and Wrestling Rager at Sea and it having the Ring of Honor guys. That's where I could see him possibly.
And New Japan.
So, I mean, and I could definitely see it being a possibility from happening. So I could say a possible yes on that one. How about Dalton Castle?
I would say yes on this one too, because even with the flashiness and all of that, and despite the rivalry that Dalton Castle has with Cody and the boys, so to speak, I say if he goes in as champion, I say yes, and I'll say he'll defend that title. As if Dalton Castle goes in as the champion. So I'll say yes.
Okay. Possibility for me. I could say a possible yes on Dalton Castle. Oh, he would be a good fit to appear at All In, and he could be one of those good matches that you could appear on the show. I rave a lot about Dalton Castle on this podcast if you ever hear me talk about him. So I could see a possibility for Dalton Castle appearing. How about Kota Ibushi?
Yes, because of the storyline, because of the Kenny Omega Golden Lovers storyline, and that tag team now back together and looking for a possible shot at the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships instead of the Junior Tag Team titles. And everybody knows who he beat back in the day, now known as Finn Balor. I say a yes on this one just to keep the storyline of the following. Kota Ibushi has been in the locker room with Bullet Club.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be very interesting to see.
And normally not in the locker room with everybody else as far as, Kenny Omega is concerned. So this is really becoming very interesting. And we found out that news at New Japan Cup this year, especially when they came back to Korakuen Hall for the quarterfinals. Now it really becomes interesting with Kota Ibushi. I say yes.
Yeah, I can definitely, for the reasons you just listed, I could see a possible appearance from Kota Ibushi showing up at All In. So, yeah, I could definitely say a yes. Let's go to, since we're talking about yes, well, not this guy, I'm going to throw you a curveball. It's in Chicago. How about the best in the world, Mr. UFC fighter, CM Punk? Does he show up at All In?
This one does have question marks. Even though he's playing his role, and he's playing it very well, I might add. this has a whole lot of question marks. I would say because this is a non-WWE event, even though it's promoted by a former WWE guy, I will have to say just for the simple fact of this not being his hometown, but it's a redemption story for him, no pun intended. I'll say just as a redemption for him and to get him out of whatever cloud he's in, I say All In could be the best choice for him.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to sell the 10,000 seats like they want to, it's going to take a CM Punk, like I mentioned in the debate, to do it. So, I mean, I would hope that he would show up, but I am kind of doubtful that he will. So, I mean, I am kind of on the fence on CM Punk.
But keep in mind, this is a non-WWE event.
Yeah, and I mean, this would be Punk's best chance to show up to wrestling.
And it's a non-UFC event to where you're not going to have any UFC fighters and everybody else burning him to the ground. This is a perfect opportunity. What better way to do it? And I'll ask a question after we get to our last pick.
Yeah, and I mean, with Punk, I mean, this would be the best time for him to get back in wrestling. I think he still loves wrestling. I don't think right now he would ever go back to WWE with having to deal with Vince or Triple H. So this would be his best chance to get back into wrestling if he still wants to do it. So, it's a possibility. Last guy, since we were talking about yes men, are we going to say yes? And is Bryan Danielson going to be all in at the show?
Well, the contract comes up to an end in September. I don't think it'll be just in time for the All In. If he does show up, if that's a yes, it will be because, bottom line, I think he'll probably have the option to opt out, which he does have that right, according to contracts. But because of the fact that his contract literally expires in September without a specific date listed, and the event is listed as September 1st, that's very doubtful.
Well, actually, it's being reported that potentially it's his contract that's coming up September 23rd. So unless he can get a release and a 90-day no compete, 8 or 60 or whatever, and he can do that in time to make the All In show, I don't see Bryan Danielson showing up at All In. I'm sure if he could, he would gladly go in and be a part of All In because that would be his first match back in the ring in a few years. That would definitely be a selling point and get the 10,000 seats. Well, but just because of contractual obligations, I don't think he is going to make All In.
And what if, two quick questions before we leave. Two quick questions, and this concerns All In. What if Bryan Danielson was cleared of his contract before September, and what if he finally gets that match? Cody finally gets his match with Bryan Danielson. What if?
Yeah, I mean that could be a big drawing match. To me,
just a what if.
A bigger match for Cody would be with Kenny Omega at the All In show, because you could build up to the All In show, because that to me is more intriguing. Well, if you're going to use Bryan,
depending on storyline, and depending on what happened at Supercard.
Yeah,
depends on what happened at Supercard, and depends on what happens at the event. That being what happens at the Walter Pyramid. That Strong Style evolved.
Yeah.
So we have to take that before we can even progress forward with this, because who knows, by the time September hits, we can already have new members of Bullet Club and they can finally make amends. Who knows?
Yeah.
But continue to your point.
Yeah, but I mean, with that, to me, I would be more intrigued with the match Bryan Danielson versus Phil Brooks, CM Punk. That would be the match I would want to see, just because you have the Bryan can't wrestle, CM Punk hasn't wrestled, those two colliding again for the first time in years. To me, that's a money match. Yeah, I would like to see Cody and Bryan Danielson at some point, but not for the All In show. To me, there's more interesting people I want to see Bryan Danielson face first before he gets to Cody.
And also, I'll add to that. With Bryan Danielson versus CM Punk, keep this in mind. You will not be under WWE restrictions. You can finally showcase a lot more what you can do now than you ever did in WWE. That's point number one. And second quick question. Should All In be televised?
Well, I mean, definitely if you want to draw more people, I think, because like,
and where?
If you're promoting an event and it's in Chicago and stuff like that, or just anywhere in the country, like we'll use our hometown here.
Right.
If it's just a live event, depending on the date, yeah, you'll get some people to show up. If you have TV, that intrigues people a little bit more. But if it's pay-per-view, to me, that's more intriguing because people are going to have to pay to see you.
And
so, to me, if it's pay-per-view, that might help the attendance because it makes the event feel even more must-see, must-watch, must-attend. You have to be there to see it.
And to piggyback off the question, should it be shown on Honor Club if there are ROH people involved? And should it be shown on New Japan World on NJPWWorld.com, especially with New Japan stars involved with this, ROH stars involved with this, and soon to be rumored Impact Wrestling stars involved with this? Should there be major media coverage concerning this event?
Now, I mean, maybe it should be streamed and on pay-per-view like that, but I mean, if you're going to have so many companies involved, to put them on all three streaming services would be a little bit awkward. But I mean, I guess it wouldn't be unheard of. But I mean,
ROH is currently doing that right now.
Well, I mean, if you look, you have Netflix. They have Netflix originals, like they have the Marvel television universe. A lot of that with the Daredevil stuff like that. I mentioned that Punisher. Those are exclusive to Netflix. You're not going to find those on any other platform. They're not going to appear on Hulu or stuff like that and on other streaming services. But I mean, you could have other movies that are on like Netflix, Hulu. You could have them on different platforms. But I mean, to me, that wouldn't be the norm if you're going to have this all-in event be on New Japan World and the Honor Club and then the Global Wrestling Network. To me, that's a little bit overkill.
Well, I'm not saying Global Wrestling Network. I'm saying Twitch.
But I mean, if you're going to broadcast it on Twitch, you're kind of negating Honor Club and the New Japan World, which are paid services.
Well, I mean, that's just a question just for consideration to all the other ones, especially for Japanese people that don't necessarily get to see American television, and they can actually have it available there. But we do see a little bit of that. But I think that's it for us.
Yeah,
we've been going all in pretty much almost the whole entire episode, haven't we?
Yeah, we've gone all in. Well, it's time to go all out because that's all the time we have today for the podcast. I'd like to thank you, Cornbread, for being my guest today.
Thank you.
Before we get into the social media plugs, we have a WrestleMania Roundtable here at the beginning of April. You definitely want to stay tuned. Plus, when we get to the Patreon, I'm going to plug that it's free all this month, guys. So you definitely want to check it out. Patreon.com/PPWP. All this month. All of our content's free. All you got to do is sign up for a free account, and you'll get all of our content's free. There's actually going to be a new article coming from our contributor, or newest teammate, Kathy Joe. Hopefully, you might see her, or in this case, hear her on next week's podcast. Hint, hint. I'm working on getting her on next week, so you definitely want to check that out. But enough about that. Cornbread, where can people find you on social media?
Social media, Chris Heineken 1 on Twitter, Facebook.com/Cornbread, Christopher David Heineken on Facebook. Also, Friday nights, MCW Wrestling, Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling, 1098 West Kaiser Street in Osceola, Arkansas. If you drive on 55, exit 55, Osceola is a straight shot, and the MCW building will be on the left-hand side. That's Friday nights. And we have a Hall of Fame show coming up on Friday night, April 6th. So, and get this, you never know who will show up. We've had WWE guys shown up in the past. In fact, we've even had a WWE Hall of Famer show up.
But for this year, I think it's been confirmed. You guys are going to have Santiago Cirillo from season 4 of The Walking Dead.
Absolutely. and that's going towards my next one, which is OCW, Out of Control Wrestling, and that is every single Saturday night, 7:05 start time. There'll be 8:05 Eastern. The cameras will be rolling because we'll be taping for not only syndicated TV in various parts of the country, but we're also going to be taping for YouTube around the world. I'm there every single Saturday night as host, and it is 609 Southeast Gibson Street. It's a little building called Flatlanders, and they're in Hoxie, Arkansas. If you're on I-55, exit, take the Jonesboro exit, keep going for another 45 minutes until you get to the Exxon inside of Hoxie Walnut Ridge. Turn right, and it's the big red building right behind Mike's Tire Shop across from Dollar General. That's where they can find me. Where can they find you?
Okay, well, it's pretty much across the board. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, is /Robert Red Jr. YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I expect some more content coming up, especially as we ramp up to WrestleMania. There's going to be some more content. Hopefully, I'm going to start collaborating. You want to go check out my friend Big Josh Hinkle's channel. Me and him, I think last week, did an interview where we kind of just talked about the wrestling business, stuff like that. So subscribe to him on YouTube, like and share it. So Big Josh Hinkle, check that out. My channel, youtube.com/user/the Robert Red. Go and check out my videos. So just you can check me out on all those social media outlets. You can also, if you check us out on iTunes and Stitcher, please leave us a review along with your comments about the show on social media, on Twitter, like at PPWP Podcast. So definitely leave us your review and do that. You can also financially support the show on Patreon, or you can get all sorts of wonderful perks. Like I mentioned, all this month, the month of March, it is totally free. Just sign up for a free account at patreon.com/PPWP, and you will get all of our content absolutely free.
And who doesn't like free?
Who does not like free? So check it out, guys. But we would like to thank you for listening to the podcast today and checking out the show. And you can catch us next time on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
See ya.